Hello there, and welcome to Dreamy Minds. Tonight, you do not have to solve your life. You are allowed to simply lie here, like a quiet shore after the tide has gone out, letting the waves of the day recede on their own. The world has asked enough of you. For now, there is only breath, the softness of the dark, and the gentle hum of a body that has tried its best. Somewhere, in kitchens and bedrooms all over the world, little kettles are sighing. Water warms, steam rises, and dry leaves unfurl into tiny galaxies in a cup. Chamomile moons, lavender stars, roots that once clung to the earth now drifting upward in fragrant clouds. People wrap their hands around warm mugs, and for a moment, the night feels less like an emptiness and more like an embrace. Herbs have been our quiet companions for a very long time. Long before we named neurotransmitters or mapped the brain, humans stood under the same sky you see now, gathering plants at dusk, hoping for relief from worry and restless nights. They didn't know about GABA or serotonin or the architecture of sleep. They only knew that some leaves seemed to coax the mind toward stillness, as if whispering to the nerves, "You can soften now." Now we understand a little more. We know that certain flowers and roots carry tiny molecules that can lean the brain toward rest, that the scent of lavender can speak directly to emotional centers, that the ritual of a nightly tea can train the nervous system to recognize safety. And yet, even with all this science, the experience remains something tender and deeply human, a feeling of being gently held from the inside. Tonight, we will wander through that quiet garden together. We'll explore how herbs like chamomile, valerian, passion flower, and lavender might soothe the mind, how scent and ritual become lullabies for the brain, and how your own nervous system can learn to trust the dark again. You don't need to remember any of it. You can simply let the words wash over you, like warm water in a cup you never have to lift. If you'd like, you can imagine yourself already lying down. Your body is resting, or almost resting. Sheets against your skin, the coolness or warmth of the room. Somewhere beyond the walls and the ceiling, and the slow hum of electricity, night has settled over the world like a soft, dark blanket. Now, in your mind, we'll take a small step somewhere else. Not far, just a step sideways into imagination. You find yourself standing at the edge of a garden. It is not a perfect garden, not a manicured one. It is a quiet, lived-in place. The soil is dark and slightly damp, still holding the memory of the day's warmth. There are plants of all kinds, tall and thin, low and bushy, some with flowers, some with only leaves that gleam faintly in the starlight. The air is cool and still, as if holding its breath with you. Overhead, the sky is a deep velvet, sprinkled with slow, patient stars. Somewhere, a small wind moves gently through the leaves, and they respond with a hush, a soft rustling, as if they are whispering to one another in a language older than words. Here, every leaf feels like a page in a long story. Every root feels like a memory, reaching down into the dark. You are not here to fix anything. You are just here to walk slowly and listen. For as long as there have been restless minds and heavy hearts, there have been people wandering gardens like this in the fading light of day, searching for something that might help them rest. Imagine, centuries ago, a woman in a small stone house, stepping out at dusk with a woven basket on her arm. The day's work is over, but her thoughts are still tangled. She walks among her plants, fingers moving over familiar leaves, choosing the ones that have soothed her family for generations. Small, green sprigs for the kettle, dried flowers for a linen pouch to tuck beneath a pillow. In another time, in another place, a healer kneels beside a stream, gathering roots after the sun has slipped below the horizon. The roots are knotted and pale, holding tight to the earth, as if reluctant to leave the darkness they know so well. He thanks the plant, cuts a small portion, and carries it back to a fire where water waits to boil. In a city long gone, a market closes for the night. The cries of merchants quiet, and the last bundles of dried herbs are carried home tied with string, smelling of field and forest, destined for steaming cups and small bowls of fragrant smoke. Different languages, different beliefs, different worries. The same human desire to soften the noise inside the mind. Whether we call them tonics, teas, infusions, or simply something my grandmother used, these plants have walked beside us through the long history of night. Our modern words for these things can feel sharp and clinical: phytochemicals, compounds, active constituents. But out here, in the quiet garden at the edge of sleep, we can think of plants more gently, as slow-moving chemists with green hands and patient hearts. All day, the leaves have been catching light, sunlight falling across them like a silent song, and inside their cells, that song is translated into sugar and life. But plants do more than just gather light. They craft small, intricate molecules to talk to the world around them. A bitter taste to tell an insect, "Not this one, find another leaf." A sweet smell to tell a bee, "Come closer, bring your golden dust." A drop of resin to seal a wound, to keep out invading microbes. A volatile oil rising on the breeze to warn neighboring plants of danger. Every fragrance, every tang on your tongue, every color that draws your eye, these are messages written in chemistry. Plants are always in conversation, with the soil, with the air, with other plants, with the countless tiny lives that walk and fly and crawl among them. And by a quiet accident of biology, some of these plant-made messages can also speak to us. When we steep a handful of flowers in hot water or crush a leaf between our fingers and inhale, tiny molecules are set free. They rise with the steam. They dissolve into the liquid. They slip onto the air. When we drink or breathe or touch, those molecules enter us and continue their journey, passing through the soft borders of the lungs or the lining of the stomach and intestines, sliding into the river of blood that flows through your body even now. Blood, dark and warm, carries them through branching channels, past the slow beat of your heart, up toward the architecture of your brain, a landscape of folded valleys and shimmering networks, all bathed in their own electric night. There, some of these plant-made messengers find places to rest. They drift up to the brain like soft-spoken guests, arriving late to a small gathering. The room is already full of conversation, billions of nerve cells sending tiny sparks of information back and forth, second by second. Some circuits are busy keeping you awake, alert, scanning for what needs to be done. Others are quietly preparing for rest, ready to lower the lights, to turn down the volume of consciousness and let you drift away. The herbal visitors do not take over. They cannot control the party. But in some people, some of the time, they can lean close to certain neural pathways and whisper, "It's okay to soften now." Inside you, there is an entire coastline where the tides are made of nerve impulses. The autonomic nervous system. You don't have to remember that phrase. Your body knows it well. It is the set of currents that regulate things you rarely think about. Heart rate, digestion, the width of your pupils, the subtle shifts that prepare you either to face the world or to rest from it. You can imagine this system as two great invisible tides. One tide rolls in with the brightness of day. This is the activating current. It's sometimes called the fight or flight side, but it's not always about danger. It's simply what helps you get up, get moving, answer emails, cross streets, solve problems, protect yourself, think fast. When this tide is high, Your heart beats a little quicker. Your muscles are ready. Your attention narrows to what needs doing. The other tide rises when the world feels safer, darker, slower, the resting current. People call it the rest and digest side. This is the part of your nervous system that allows your heart rate to ease, your stomach to turn its attention to digestion, your breathing to deepen and smooth. When this tide is strong, your body remembers that it's okay to repair, to store energy, to sleep. Both tides are necessary. Both belong to you. But sometimes, through stress or grief or too much noise for too long, the activating tide gets stuck in a kind of high alert. Even when the day is over, even when you've turned off the lights, some part of you is still scanning the horizon, still preparing for the next demand. The body lies down, but the nervous system remains standing at the window, just in case. If this feels familiar, you are not alone. It's normal, especially in a fast, bright world, to feel like your inner off switch has gone a bit stiff, a bit rusty from disuse. Herbal traditions, in their many forms, have often aimed not to force sleep like flipping a breaker in your mind, but to gently nudge this inner balance so that the resting tide can come in more fully. Not a hammer, but a feather on the scale. Not sedation, but invitation. Some herbs seem to encourage the body's own calming messengers, like GABA, a neurotransmitter whose job, in simple terms, is to tell active neurons, you can quiet down now. Others may lightly ease tension in muscles, or soften the edges of anxious thought. Science is still exploring exactly how and when and for whom these effects unfold, and the answers are not always simple. But the general theme is clear. Many of our plant allies lean toward rest rather than alertness, toward pause rather than push. In the language of our tides, they offer a small, persistent suggestion. Let the waves recede for a while. Let the shoreline breathe. But herbs do not work only through chemistry. They also speak to the mind through meaning, through memory, through ritual. Imagine it's the end of a long, difficult day. Your thoughts are scattered like dry leaves, tumbling from one worry to the next. Your heart has been beating its quiet drum for hours, holding you up, carrying you through conversations and decisions and small, invisible battles. Now, you walk into a kitchen. It might be your own. It might be an imagined one, safe, warm, lit by a soft light over the sink. You reach for a jar on the counter. Inside, there are dried flowers, or curled green leaves, or perhaps a blend of both. When you open the lid, a familiar scent rises up to meet you. Already, something in your nervous system begins to shift. You fill a kettle. The simple act of turning on the tap, listening to water rush and then still, marks a transition. Day work is over. Now you are doing something only for rest. The kettle starts to heat. At first, nothing seems to be happening, and then a hum, a faint rattle, a deepening, sound like a distant storm rolling softly closer. While you wait, you might lean against the counter. Your shoulders drop a little. Your body, which has been held upright by tension and habit, allows itself a small surrender. When the water boils, you pour it over the herbs and watch the steam rise. In those clouds of warmth are tiny molecules escaping into the air. Yes, but also something more intangible. Permission. The smell entwines with your own history, other nights, other cups, the memory of being cared for by someone else, or the first time you tried to care for yourself in this quiet, deliberate way. In psychology, there is a word for this weaving together of cues and responses: conditioning. But you don't need the word to feel it working. Every time you repeat this little ceremony, you're teaching your brain. When I smell this, when I hear the kettle, when I hold this warm cup, it means the world is slowing down. It means I'm allowed to stop. The chemical effects of the herbs may take time to unfold in your bloodstream. The ritual effects begin almost immediately. Somewhere deep in your brain, there is a small almond-shaped region called the amygdala. Again, you don't have to remember its name. You can think of it as a kind of emotional gatekeeper, always asking, is this safe or is this dangerous? When it leans toward danger, it tells the activating tide to rise. Heartbeat quickens, muscles tense, thoughts sharpen. But the amygdala does not decide in a vacuum. It listens to your senses, your memories, your context. A familiar, comforting smell at bedtime, a gentle herbal fragrance you've come to associate with quiet, can tilt this gatekeeper ever so slightly toward safe. The lights are low, the sounds are soft, the body is warm, and the brain receives a clear signal. This is a time for rest, not for defense. In this way, the simple act of holding a warm cup or inhaling a gentle herbal scent becomes more than just an action. It becomes a conversation with your own nervous system. A sentence, repeated night after night. You are safe now. Nothing more is required of you. Over time, this repeated reassurance can begin to rewrite old patterns. The body that used to brace automatically when the sun went down can start to associate night with softer things: warmth, care, familiarity. The brain that once saw sleep as a battleground can start to see it as a shoreline, a place where the waves of consciousness ease up, not because they were forced to, but because they are finally allowed. None of this means that herbs are magic keys that unlock the same door in every person. The garden is honest about that. If you stand very still among the leaves, you can almost hear them acknowledging the complexity of it all. Different bodies, different histories, different responses. For some, a certain plant may feel like a gentle hand on the shoulder, easing them toward sleep. For others, the same herb might do very little, or help only when combined with other changes. Less blue light before bed, gentler self-talk, a slower evening rhythm. The nervous system is not a simple machine. It is a story written in many layers. Genes, experiences, thoughts, hopes, fears. Tonight, in this first wandering through the quiet garden, we are not promising cures or perfect nights. We are simply acknowledging that you are allowed to seek help from small earthy companions. That it's okay to experiment gently, with curiosity rather than desperation. To notice how your body responds or doesn't, without judgment. Herbs, in this story, are not commanding generals. They are more like patient friends sitting beside you at twilight, offering what they can. A molecule here, a fragrance there, a ritual to hold on to when your thoughts begin to drift. If you listen closely now, you can almost hear the garden breathing with you. In. Out. Some plants open their petals to the moonlight, sensing subtle changes in humidity and temperature. Others fold themselves inward, conserving energy for morning. Under the soil, roots continue their slow work, trading sugars with fungi, drawing up water, anchoring life against the tug of wind and time. Your body is doing something similar. Even as you lie here, perhaps not yet asleep, your internal garden is awake with quiet activity. Cells repair tiny damages. Hormones ebb and flow. Somewhere in the depths of the brain, a small stream of melatonin rises as darkness persists, telling every organ, night is here. Adjust. Soften. Prepare for the long drift. You don't have to manage any of this. You don't have to remember how it works. Your body has known how to move between day and night since long before you knew the word sleep. Long before you knew anything at all. If herbs become part of your journey, think of them not as outside forces swooping in to rescue you, but as gentle companions, reminding your body of what it already knows: how to rest, how to let go, how to float. For now, in this moment, you can return fully to your own bed, your own room. The imagined garden folds itself quietly back into the night, but a little part of it stays with you. Perhaps the sense of damp soil under your feet, or the way the leaves whispered when the wind passed, or the simple knowledge that somewhere on this same earth, plants are still growing in there, dark, crafting tiny messages for a world they can't see. You carry their story in your bloodstream and in your breath. If you are holding a cup of something warm right now, you can feel its weight in your hands, smell its rising steam. If not, you can simply imagine that warmth resting gently in the space between your palms, an invisible offering of comfort. Nothing more is required. You have walked to the edge of the garden and back again. You have listened, for a while, to the way plants and brains and nights and rituals all flow into one another like rivers feeding the same quiet sea. Whatever happens next, whether sleep comes quickly or slowly, you have already given yourself something soft: time, attention, and a small story about being held by the world rather than carried by it. Let that be enough. For now. The day is behind you. The dark is around you. And somewhere, at the edge of sleep, the quiet garden waits, patient and kind, whenever you need to return. If you let your mind drift back to the garden for a moment, you might notice that among all the leaves and stems and quietly breathing roots, certain shapes draw your eye more than others. Little round faces turning toward the last light. Long purple spires, like captured pieces of twilight. Chamomile and lavender. They are not the only herbs that wander through the stories of sleep, but they are among the gentlest, the most familiar. The ones that have found their way into cabinets and bedside tables and memories all over the world. Tonight, we step a little closer to them. Not to study them like specimens in a lab, but to sit beside them the way you might sit beside a calm friend at the end of a long day. Someone who doesn't demand a performance from you, who just lets you exhale and be. Imagine a small kitchen, late at night. The overhead lights are too sharp, so only a warm lamp glows in the corner, turning everything a soft honey color. Outside, the world has grown quiet. Inside, there is the simple sound of water heating, and the faint papery rustle of dried flowers in a jar. You open the jar, and the air changes. The scent of chamomile rises gently, like a memory of summer pressed between pages. It's apple sweet, straw-like, almost like the smell of sunshine on dry grass. You take a spoonful of the tiny blossoms. They look like miniature daisies that have folded into themselves, yellow centers, pale petals resting inward. When they fall into the waiting cup, they look like tiny moons settling into the bottom of a teacup universe. You pour hot water over them, and the moons begin to float. For a moment, you just watch. Steam curls upward, carrying with it invisible messages. Small plant-made molecules slipping into the air, quietly changing it. The water turns a faint gold, as if someone had melted a sliver of morning light and dropped it into your evening. You lift the cup. The warmth moves into your palms, into your fingers, into the small, tense muscles that have been making fists all day without noticing. You inhale, and something, somewhere, begins to soften. Chamomile has been woven into bedtime rituals for centuries. You can find it in old herbal texts, in oral traditions, in stories passed down by grandparents who may not have known why it helped, only that it often seemed to. Modern science offers a few glimpses into how this little flower might be speaking to the brain. Nestled inside those petals and yellow centers are many different kinds of molecules. One of them is called apigenin. a small, patient compound that, in experiments, seems to be able to sit down at certain receptors in the brain that usually listen to a calming messenger called GABA. You don't need to remember the names. You can think of GABA as a kind of inner hush. All day, your brain has been full of activity, neurons sending sparks to other neurons, messages crisscrossing in bright patterns. Some of those patterns are exciting and energizing, like the rush you feel when you have an idea or race to meet a deadline. Others are more like breaks, held quietly in reserve, ready to slow things down when the time is right. GABA is one of the brain's braking systems. When GABA binds to its receptors on a neuron, it makes that cell less likely to fire, less likely to keep shouting its message into the busy chatter. It's like a gentle hand on a shoulder, saying, "Shh. You don't need to talk right now. You can rest." Many of the medications doctors use for anxiety and sleep work, in part by leaning on this same system, enhancing the natural calming effects of GABA, turning up the volume of the inner hush. Apigenin from chamomile is thought, based on laboratory studies, to nestle into some of the same receptor sites. Not with the blunt force of a pharmaceutical sedative, but like a quieter, subtler guest. The research is still unfolding, and results in humans are mixed and modest. Chamomile is not a magic knockout potion, but for some people, some of the time, repeated cups of chamomile tea seem to ease anxious edges, to slightly shorten the long road between lying down and falling asleep. If this is true for you, it might be because of molecules like apigenin whispering to your neurons, "You can slow down now." And if it isn't, that's okay too. The nervous system is a vast and varied landscape. Not every path looks the same. But chamomile's power is not only in its chemistry, it is also in the way it arrives. Warmth in your hands. The sweet, grassy smell. The slight bitterness on your tongue that somehow still feels kind. The sound of a kettle that, in your life, has maybe boiled at the end of many long days. Each of these sensations is a thread. Together, they weave a familiar pattern in your brain. Neuroscientists might call this a contextual cue, part of a network of associations that your mind builds over time. You might simply call it comfort. Think of all the nights you've heard a lullaby, or brushed your teeth, or turned down the covers before sleep. Think of the habits you repeat again and again. The brain is always learning from these repetitions. When certain sights, sounds, and smells consistently appear before rest, your nervous system starts to prepare itself in advance. Chamomile tea, taken night after night, can become part of your sleep story. Not just a drink, but a signal. You may notice that, after a while, the simple act of making the tea starts to make you drowsy, even before you take the first sip. This is not just placebo. This is your brain's talent for pattern making, its ability to connect meaning to sensation. In the language of the inner tides, chamomile's chemistry may gently support the resting current, while its ritual role strengthens the brain's expectation, the quiet certainty that this sequence of actions means, "Nothing more is required of me tonight." And expectation itself is a kind of medicine. When you truly believe that something might help, your body often responds, releasing its own mix of calming messengers, easing tension, lowering the guard just a little. Your brain listens closely to its own stories. So when you lift a cup of chamomile to your lips, any comfort you feel is not less real, because it springs partly from habit and hope. Herbs and meaning are not competitors, they are collaborators, weaving together physiology and psychology into a single, lived experience of calm. Now, let's turn gently to another corner of the night. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a field just after sunset. The sky is a soft, lingering blue, fading slowly into deeper shades. Around you stretches an ocean made not of water, but of purple, lavender. Rows and rows of it lifted slightly on their stems like a chorus of small, fragrant flames. As the air cools, the scent rises, sharp yet soft, floral but with a hint of something herbal, something almost clean. It moves across the field like a tide, rolling toward you, then away, then back again. You close your eyes and breathe in. For many people, lavender is the smell of sleep. It might live in a small pillow spray, a drop of oil on the wrist, a sachet tucked into a drawer, a few branches hanging to dry. It might be mixed with other scents or alone in a bottle with a simple label. However it arrives, lavender tends to speak first to your nose. We can follow it. When you inhale, tiny molecules of lavender's essential oils, made up of compounds like linalool and linalool acetate, float into your nasal passages. They're small enough to dance on the currents of air, to meet the damp, delicate lining high up in your nose where the olfactory receptors live. This part of your nervous system is unlike any other. In most sensory systems, signals from the outside world take a longer path to reach the emotional core of the brain. Information from the eyes, the ears, the skin, these often travel through a relay station, the thalamus, and then on to the cortex, where conscious perception unfolds, and then down into deeper emotional layers. Smell is more direct. The olfactory neurons send their signals straight into the olfactory bulb, which sits just above the nasal cavity, beneath the frontal lobes of the brain like a small, curled shoreline. From there, the scent information is sent on to regions like the amygdala and hippocampus, areas that help shape emotion and memory. This is one reason why smell can feel like a time machine. A whiff of a certain perfume and you are suddenly 15 again. The scent of a particular soap and you are in your childhood home. The smell of dried leaves and you are walking through a long ago autumn, hearing the crunch beneath your feet. Lavender, carried along this same pathway, can become deeply entangled with your experiences of safety, comfort, and rest. If you often smell it when you are peaceful, climbing into clean sheets, soaking in a warm bath, settling onto a pillow at the end of a quiet day, your brain writes that association into its circuitry. The amygdala begins to recognize lavender not simply as a smell, but as a sign. This is what we inhale when things are okay. This is the scent of nothing bad is happening right now. Some small studies suggest that lavender aroma can modestly reduce anxiety in certain settings, and that it may support better sleep quality for some people, especially when woven into a broader bedtime routine. People describe falling asleep a bit faster, or waking fewer times, or feeling slightly more refreshed in the morning. Not everyone, but many. Again, the effects are usually gentle, not the kind that slam a door on consciousness. More like a quiet hand slowly, thoughtfully closing it. If you like, you can picture that now. A door at the end of a hallway inside your mind, left ajar throughout a busy, buzzing day. Thoughts drift in and out. Alerts come and go. The outside world has a way of marching straight through noise, tasks, worries. As evening comes, you bring chamomile or lavender into the picture, a cup steaming beside your bed. A soft mist of lavender over your pillow. Perhaps both, perhaps neither, just the idea of them. Their molecules travel through your body. Their smells travel through your nose. And somewhere, deep among the folds and corridors of your brain, the limbic system recognizes the pattern. Ah, this again. The thing we do when it's time to sleep. The hand moves gently to the door, not slamming it shut in panic or exhaustion, but easing it inward, inch by inch, allowing fewer thoughts to wander through, allowing more silence to collect on the other side. If sleep is a house, lavender might not build it. but it can help you draw the curtains. It's important to remember that not everyone's brain responds to these cues in the same way. For some, chamomile feels like a subtle softening that is hard to measure but easy to feel. For others, it's just a pleasant taste with no noticeable shift. A few people find certain herbs make them feel oddly alert, or upset their stomach, or simply don't appeal. The same is true for lavender. Many find it calming. A few find it cloying, or even stimulating. Some people's nervous systems may be so primed by chronic stress or trauma that no scent, no tea, no single ritual can immediately unwind the tight coil of vigilance inside them. If this is your experience, there is nothing wrong with you. You are not failing at relaxation because a flower did not fix you. Your nervous system is doing its best with what it has learned. Sometimes the pathways of fear and protection have been paved over many years, and it takes time and care, and often more than one kind of support, to gently grow new ones. Herbs like chamomile and lavender can be small companions in that process. Helpful for some, background for others. They are not a test you can pass or fail. What they can offer, reliably, is a way to engage with night that feels tender, slow, and intentional. When you choose a chamomile tea or a lavender scent at bedtime, you are doing more than inviting certain molecules into your body. You are also choosing to send yourself a message: I'm worth a little gentleness. I can make time for a small kindness to myself. That alone begins to soften the harsh edges of the day. From a psychological perspective, this is a shift from being acted upon by your schedule, your responsibilities, your anxieties, to acting for yourself in a quiet, nurturing way. It is a tiny reclaiming of agency, a way of stepping back into your own story, not as the villain or the judge, but as the caretaker. Over time, the brain learns from these gestures. You become the person who at night does something kind and predictable and soothing for themselves. That identity, repeated, can be as powerful as any herb. I am someone who tries to rest. I am someone who deserves rest. And the nervous system, so tuned to threats and demands, begins slowly to entertain a new possibility, that it is safe, some nights, to let down its guard. So, as you lie here listening, you might imagine your own chamomile constellation. Tiny flower moons floating in a dark cup, reflecting the stars outside your window. Each sip a small, warm star slipping down your throat, traveling through the long river of your body to places you cannot see. Or perhaps you dream of lavender tides, purple waves rolling in under a twilight sky, each crest carrying with it a breath of stillness, each retreat drawing some of the day's noise back out to sea. You don't have to drink anything. You don't have to spray anything. You can let the idea of these herbs be enough for tonight. A soft story you tell your nervous system about small, calming forces that exist in the world and perhaps in your future evenings. The science behind them hums quietly in the background. GABA receptors like dimmers on neural lamps, olfactory pathways leading straight into the heart of memory, clinical trials with numbers and graphs showing modest shifts in sleep and anxiety scores. All of that is real. But so is this moment. Your breath rising and falling, your chest expanding and softening, the weight of your body supported by whatever you are lying on. The sense that, just for now, you are allowed to set everything down. Chamomile may be steeping on a counter somewhere. Lavender may be blooming in a field half a world away. Their molecules may or may not ever reach you, but the truth they carry already has. That there are gentle things in this world designed, by evolution and by human care, to lean us toward rest. That your brain is capable of learning new associations, new rituals, new lullabies. And that you are not required to earn sleep with productivity or punish yourself with restlessness. You are a creature of tides and constellations, of chemistry and emotion, and you are allowed, slowly, to drift. If sleep begins to fold around you now, you can let it. If it lingers at the edges, you are still resting. You are still listening to a story about flowers and fields and the brain's beautiful, mysterious ways of finding its way back to quiet. Somewhere, in the softest corners of the herbal night, chamomile constellations are shining, and lavender tides are moving in, and the door in your mind is easing closed, one gentle breath at a time. If the chamomile and lavender of the last chapter were like stars and gentle oceans on the surface of night, this part of the journey asks you to go a little deeper, not upward into the sky this time, but downward, beneath the soft grass, under the moss and fallen leaves, below the tiny feet of nighttime animals and the slow crawl of insects. There is another world, a world of roots and hidden threads, twisting and turning in the dark. You can imagine yourself kneeling at the edge of the imagined garden, fingertips gently pressing into the soil. The earth is cool, a little damp, holding the day's warmth the way memory holds moments long after they have passed. If you brushed aside the top layer and dug slowly, respectfully, you would find them, pale strands and thick knots, branching like frozen lightning beneath your hands. Roots, anchors that never see the sun, yet feed everything that grows above. Tonight, we wander into that underworld together, the realm of valerian, passionflower, lemon balm, and other quiet companions of the uneasy mind. These are herbs people often reach for when rest feels far away, when the surface of life is too bright, too sharp, too loud for sleep to come easily. Up above, petals and leaves. Down here, in the dark, the deeper medicine. Imagine valerian root first. If you've ever seen it dried, it looks a bit like a tangle of threads that have been living with gravity for a very long time. Thin, knotted, slightly wild. It does not have the soft, comforting scent of lavender or chamomile. In truth, valerian has a smell some people find strong, even unpleasant, earthy, musky, like the breath of deep soil. But you can think of that as part of its story. Valerian root lives close to the darkness, close to the quiet. It spends its life listening to the slow movements of water underground, the pressure of the earth, the pull of the moon on the groundwater. It knows about stillness. In your mind's eye, you might picture each of its tangled roots as an old thought gently loosening. The kind of thought that circles and circles at night. What if? What then? What next? Beginning, finally, to uncoil. Then, see passion flower. Above ground, it is almost otherworldly, an intricate bloom with slender filaments that reach out like rays from a tiny planet. Its petals form a halo, its colors a soft mix of white and purple and blue. It looks complex, but not chaotic, like a galaxy arranged by a calm hand. As a climbing vine, passionflower reaches for support, fences, trellises, other plants, twisting around them, holding on, yet never strangling, never taking more than it needs. You can almost hear it whisper to the anxious mind, it's possible to hold many thoughts and still be peaceful. Complexity does not always mean crisis. And then there is lemon balm, Melissa, whose very name has been tied to bees and balm and soothing for centuries. Above the soil, its leaves are soft and heart-shaped, and when you rub them between your fingers, they release a bright scent like lemon and green rain. Beneath the soil, its roots are smaller, finer, but they share the same quiet purpose, to draw nourishment up, to keep the plant steady when the wind blows. Together, these herbs, root, vine, and leaf, form a little constellation in the darker sky of the herbal night. They are often called upon when the mind is not just restless, but overlit, as if someone forgot to dim the switch inside. Neuroscientists sometimes use the word hyperarousal to describe this state. It's a big word for something you may know very well. Hyperarousal is what happens when the brain remains too watchful, too awake, even when the body is tired. The day may be over, the house may be quiet, the lights may be off, but inside your skull, it still looks like midday. Thoughts move quickly. Little worries feel larger than they are. The heart beats a bit faster than it needs to. Muscles stay slightly tight, as if expecting something to happen. This state makes sense when there is real danger. A storm, a predator, a crisis. For our ancestors, it kept them alive. A brain that could not fully relax until it was truly safe. But in modern life, hyperarousal can become chronic. Work emails, financial stress, social pressures, glowing screens, unfinished tasks, old memories with sharp edges. All of this can teach your brain that the world is seldom safe enough to downshift. So even when you lie down, that inner alarm system hums quietly in the background. You might recognize this feeling. Eyes heavy but mind racing. Body tired but heart just alert enough that sleep stands at the doorway but doesn't quite step in. It is not a personal failure. It is your nervous system trying a bit too hard to protect you. Many of the deeper, stronger herbs of the night, valerian, passion flower, lemon balm, and others that people sometimes turn to, are thought to speak specifically to this overbrightness, to this inner alarm. Their language, once again, often passes through the GABA system, that whispering network of inner hush. Valerian root, especially, has been studied for its possible effects on GABA. Within its gnarled, pale strands are compounds like valerianic acid and valerenol. In laboratory work, some of these seem to slow the breakdown of GABA or enhance its calming influence. It's as if valerian walks into a room where GABA is already trying to gently quiet the crowd and says, "Here, let me help you be heard a little more." Human studies of valerian for sleep have had mixed results. Some show that people fall asleep a bit faster or describe better sleep quality after taking it regularly for a few weeks. Others show only small or no changes. If the picture seems fuzzy, that's because humans are wonderfully, frustratingly varied. And so are the preparations of the plant, different extracts, dosages, and combinations. But the theme that emerges is one of tendency, not certainty. For some, valerian seems to dim the volume of that inner alert system just enough to allow sleep to approach. For others, it may feel like nothing at all. And for a few, interestingly, it can feel stimulating rather than calming. Another reminder that there is no single herb that behaves the same way in every nervous system. Passion flower, too, appears to lean gently on GABA's side. Some animal and small human studies suggest that extracts of this vine may increase levels of GABA in the brain or interact with its receptors, leading to reduced signs of anxiety and, for some, easier sleep. Again, the science is not a choir of perfect agreement, but more like a group of voices singing similar, slightly different songs. This might help a bit. In some people, in some ways, lemon balm brings another note to the mix. Traditionally used as a nervine, a herb for the nerves, it has been given to those who feel wound up, restless, or emotionally fragile. Its modern research hints at possible mild anxiolytic anxiety effects and cognitive calm, especially when paired with other herbs. Some compounds in lemon balm may interact with GABA, others with stress hormones, still others with oxidative processes that, in quiet ways, shape how the brain handles strain. In all of this, the details can feel abstract. GABA enzymes, receptor subunits, neurotransmitter modulation. It's easy to get lost in the science and forget the lived experience. so you can return instead to the image. Valerian, a root untangling old thought knots. Passion flower, a complex bloom proving that intricacy can still be serene. Lemon balm, a green heart-shaped leaf laying a hand over the trembling part of your chest. Molecules and metaphors working side by side. When hyperarousal has become a familiar companion, the body often forgets how to fully exhale. You may not notice it, but your breathing stays a bit shallow, a bit high in the chest. The out-breaths are shorter than the in-breaths. The heart beats like a small, wary animal, never running, but never quite resting. Some herbs, including these deeper ones, are used with the hope of lengthening that exhale, not in a conscious count your breaths way, but in the background by quieting some of the neural circuits that keep the vigilance dial turned up. They may allow your diaphragm to move more freely, your lungs to empty more completely, your heart rate to slow down 1 or 2 beats per minute more than it otherwise might. You might feel it, if they suit you, as a subtle heaviness in the limbs, a gentle fogginess at the edges of your thoughts, a softening of the urge to replay the day's events. You might notice your jaw unclenching on its own, your shoulders sinking, your hands letting go of invisible objects they've been gripping all day. This is not being knocked out. It is being invited to remember how to land. There is a difference. Being knocked out is like the lights suddenly going off in a room where the music is still loud, the guests still talking, the dishes still unwashed, a jarring silence, a forced darkness. Remembering how to land is more like the music turning down 1 notch at a time, the conversation thinning, the dishes soaking quietly in warm water, people leaving gently with hugs and soft goodbyes, someone dimming the lamp, blowing out the candle. The stronger herbs of the night are best imagined as helpers in that second kind of ending. They don't erase your wakefulness, they encourage it toward a natural close. But with that strength comes a need for respect. Natural is a word that can sound reassuring. It conjures images of forests, gardens, streams, and gentle hands picking herbs by moonlight. Yet in biology, natural simply means of nature, and nature holds both medicine and poison, often in the same green hue. Valerian, passion flower, lemon balm. They are generally considered safe for many people when used in moderate amounts for limited periods. Yet they can interact with other medications, sedatives, antidepressants, anti-anxiety drugs. They can be too much for some bodies, or not appropriate in certain conditions like pregnancy or specific medical issues. This is not meant to frighten, but to invite a stance of listening. Just as you wouldn't suddenly double your dose of a prescribed medication because you're desperate to sleep, it's wise not to think. If a little herb is good, a lot must be better. More is not always gentler. Sometimes more is just. More strain for the liver, more tug on the nervous system, more opportunity for side effects. Stronger herbs are best approached like deep water. Step in slowly, with awareness, preferably with guidance from someone who knows the currents, a skilled herbalist, a healthcare provider who understands these plants. If you ever choose to invite them into your life, let it be a conversation, not a leap. Your body is not a machine to be fixed. It is a living ecosystem. The goal is not to knock it into submission, but to listen for what kind of support it can truly use. And if you never take valerian, or passion flower, or lemon balm at all, you can still walk through their symbolic landscape and let it calm you. Because in truth, what these roots and vines are pointing toward is something deeper than any tea or tincture. They are pointing toward the possibility of downshifting. Somewhere within you, there is a gear that knows how to move from on to almost off to sleeping. It may have grown stiff, but it is still there. These herbs, through their chemistry, their stories, their centuries of human use, are reminders that transition is possible. Roots in the dark teach patience. They spend entire seasons unseen, growing slowly, inch by inch, preparing for bursts of life above. They do not rush their work. They know that nourishment gathered over time is more stable than any quick, sudden surge. Vines teach receptivity. Passion flower reaches for support, allowing itself to be held up by others. It does not insist on climbing alone. In the same way, your nervous system is allowed to lean on herbs, on breath practices, on therapy, on connection with others. Leaves like lemon balm teach softness in brightness. They smell like sunlight and citrus, yet their effect for many is quietly grounding. They remind us that not all that is stimulating in scent or flavor must stimulate the mind. Some brightness leads inward instead of outward. If you are lying awake often, feeling that inner hum of hyperarousal, it is easy to feel broken or frustrated with yourself. To think, why can't I just switch off like other people? Why does my mind refuse to quiet down? You are not failing at being human. You are a human living in an age where the lights rarely go out, where demands rarely pause, where alarms, literal and metaphorical, are all too common. Your nervous system has adapted to this by staying ready. Over-ready. Sometimes, herbs like valerian, passion flower, and lemon balm are one set of tools among many that humans have gathered to help remind the body what safety feels like. They are not the only tools. They are not always the right ones. But their existence is a comfort, in a way, proof that generations before you also struggled with restless nights, and that they too went looking for allies. Allies in the soil, allies in the vines, allies in the leaves. For now, as you listen, you don't have to decide anything. You don't have to remember the names of compounds, or the details of studies, or the specific pathways of GABA and hyperarousal. You can simply let the imagery sink in, roots spreading calmly through dark earth, unhurried. Vines spiraling with grace, not panic. Leaves breathing out quiet scents under a night sky. You might let your own breath mimic that slow, underground movement. Inhale gently, as if drawing in nourishment through a long network of roots. Exhale a little longer, as if letting tension seep back into the soil, where it can be composted into something softer. There is no right way to do this. No special rhythm to remember. Just a sense of letting your out-breath be a fraction more generous than your in-breath, a fraction more committed to releasing what you don't need to carry into sleep. If sleep begins to approach, you can welcome it like an old friend arriving late, but still invited. If it doesn't, you have not wasted this time. You have spent it in a different kind of company, not with screens or worries, but with roots in the dark and petals in the twilight, with the quiet science of a brain that wants more than anything to protect you, and that is slowly learning that rest can be a form of protection too. The deeper herbs of the night, the valerian knots, the passion flower galaxies, the lemon balm hearts, will keep doing what they have always done, whether or not you use them directly, modeling slowness, resilience, and the courage to let go, inch by inch. And your own nervous system, listening from beneath the surface of your thoughts, may begin, in its own time, to follow. Somewhere between the deep, steady patience of roots and the distant shimmer of stars, there is another realm we haven't lingered in yet. The in-between space. The invisible. The air itself. If you pay attention for a moment, you might notice that what surrounds you right now is not empty. Even if your room is still, even if the window is closed, the air is carrying quiet currents, tiny movements, subtle differences in temperature, and woven through it all, fragile threads of scent. You may smell very little, or you may notice fabric, or wood, or the faint echo of something you cooked hours ago, perhaps a hint of soap, or your own skin, or a trace of some herbal oil on your pillow from nights before. Scent is the most ghost-like of sensations. It arrives without weight, without color, without edges, and yet it can move you more swiftly than almost anything else, back in time, out of fear, into calm. Tonight we're going to drift along those invisible currents. We'll follow a single breath as it moves from the room into your nose, and from your nose into your brain, carrying whispers of herbs, lavender, bergamot, chamomile, cedarwood, and others, that, for some people, become messengers of safety, not swallowed in a cup, not chewed or digested, but simply invited into the body on the river of air. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to inhale in any special way. Your body is already breathing for you. We're just going to watch, softly, from the inside. Imagine that a gentle herbal scent is present in the room. Maybe it's lavender, with its familiar powdery calm. Maybe it's bergamot, bright and citrusy, like sunshine poured into a bottle. Maybe it's chamomile, dry and sweet, like hay at the edge of summer. Maybe it's cedarwood, deep and resinous, like the quiet of a forest after rain. Or maybe for you it's something more personal, the smell of clean laundry, of old books, of your favorite tea, any aroma that feels kind. Let one of those drift into your awareness, either real or imagined. Now follow your next breath. As you inhale, air flows in through your nostrils, cool or warm against your skin. It moves up through narrow, curved passageways inside your nose, where the walls are lined with a thin, delicate sheet of cells, the olfactory epithelium. Perched there are millions of tiny receptor neurons, like a field of grass waiting for the wind. Riding on your breath are molecules from the scent in your room, small structures of carbon and hydrogen, created by plants as essential oils, lifted from leaves or wood or peel. On the wind of your inhale, they swirl upward and land gently on that receptive field. Some of them fit into certain receptors, like keys into locks. When that happens, a series of microscopic events begins. The neuron wakes up, sending a tiny electrical signal along its slender fiber. That signal joins with millions of others, streaming together like raindrops into a river that flows through a small opening in the bone between your nose and your brain. On the other side of that bone lies the olfactory bulb. You can imagine it as a little crescent of neural coastline, just underneath your forehead and behind your eyes, a softly glowing shore where scent signals first arrive. Here, the brain begins to organize the incoming information. Signals from similar receptors converge into small clusters, like waves gathering into a single, larger swell before reaching the beach. The pattern of activity that forms is unique to each smell, a kind of code or fingerprint. But the journey doesn't stop at this coastline. From the olfactory bulb, scent information travels inward, through fragile white matter paths, especially toward parts of the brain we visited briefly before. The limbic system. The limbic system is not one place, but a constellation of deep structures that help create emotion, motivation, and memory. Two of its most well-known stars are the amygdala and the hippocampus. You don't need to hold on to the names. You can think of the amygdala as your inner sentinel, always watching, always asking, is this safe or is this dangerous? And you can think of the hippocampus as your inner librarian, constantly recording and filing away experiences, linking them in time and space, what happened, where, with whom. Scent touches both of them very quickly. That's part of why smell feels so immediate, so emotional, so tied to memory. Other senses often take a more methodical route to your awareness. But aroma has a private shortcut straight into the rooms where you decide how to feel. You might have experienced this. You open a drawer and catch a hint of a particular detergent, and suddenly you're back in your childhood bedroom, with a specific blanket in your hands and a certain feeling in your chest. You walk past someone wearing a cologne, and in an instant, without planning it, you think of a person you used to love, or someone you lost, or a version of yourself you haven't seen in years. You step outside after a long, hot day, and the smell of rain on dry pavement brings with it a strange, aching calm you can't quite explain. Smell is a time machine. It is also a safety net. Because the amygdala is constantly monitoring, have I smelt this before? What happened last time? Was I okay? If a particular aroma often appears in moments of fear or pain, like antiseptic in a hospital or burning rubber near an accident site, the brain can learn to pair that scent with danger. A whiff years later can send the body into alertness before you understand why. A tightened jaw, a quickening pulse, a ripple of unease. But the opposite is also true. If a scent shows up again and again in moments of comfort, clean sheets at bedtime, the pages of a favorite book, herbs in a cup held by someone who loves you, the brain can pair it with safety. Over time, your inner sentinel begins to recognize when this smell is in the air, things usually turn out all right. I can lower my guard a little. This is where herbal aromas, used gently and repeatedly around sleep, can become more than pleasant decorations. They can become signals, soft, invisible flags raised each night, telling your limbic system, it's that time again. The time when nothing major is asked of you. The time when you are usually okay. Picture a small scene. It's late. Your day has been crowded, maybe, with too many tabs open in your mind. You are tired in that particular way where your thoughts feel heavy but refuse to stop moving. You walk into your bedroom and flick on a soft lamp. The light is low and warm, not the harsh blue of daytime screens. Shadows blur the edges of the furniture. Your bed is made, or messy, but it is there, waiting. On your nightstand sits a little bottle of lavender spray or a roll-on blend of herbal oils. Perhaps there's a diffuser, half full of water, or a small cloth sachet filled with dried flowers and wood chips. You lift it, almost without thinking now, and do what you've done many nights before. A small mist over the pillow, a dab on the wrist, a few drops in the diffuser. The scent rises on the air, lavender's soft floral hush, bergamot's light citrus brightness, chamomile's apple-like sweetness, cedarwood's grounding, forest floor whisper. As you move through the rest of your nighttime ritual, brushing your teeth, dimming the light further, turning back the covers, that scent lingers, wrapping itself around the edges of the room like a fine, invisible veil. Your nervous system notices. The amygdala, your emotional gatekeeper, receives scent signals from the olfactory bulb and compares them with its old records. It says this again. The smell that usually means we are going to bed. The smell that has come before so many uneventful nights. The hippocampus, your inner librarian, flips through its shelves. It finds dozens of entries, perhaps hundreds, where this same aroma was present while you lay down, while you closed your eyes, while you eventually, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, fell asleep and woke up unharmed. These inner parts don't speak in words, but if they did, they might murmur to one another, "We've been here before," over and over. It was okay. It was boring. It was safe. And the body responds. The sympathetic nervous system, the branch that governs fight or flight, eases its grip ever so slightly. Heart rate may drift down a notch. Muscles around the shoulders may unlock. breathing might deepen, even by a millimeter. The parasympathetic branch, the rest and digest side, steps forward. It's as if the tide inside you recedes a little, uncovering more shoreline where you can finally lie down, all because the air carried a familiar song. Researchers who study sleep and aromatherapy have tried to capture this in numbers. They bring people into sleep laboratories or ask them to use certain scents over days or weeks at home. They track how long it takes to fall asleep, how much time is spent in different stages of sleep, how rested people feel in the morning. They compare lavender nights to unscented nights, bergamot nights to control nights. The results, like most things in human biology, are not perfectly consistent. Some studies find that people exposed to calming aromas fall asleep a bit faster or wake up feeling more refreshed. Some show reductions in self-reported anxiety or in certain stress markers like cortisol. Others show smaller changes or no statistically significant differences at all. But if you look closely, a pattern emerges. For many participants, not all, but a meaningful number, simply having a predictable, pleasant scent present at bedtime seems to tilt the experience toward restfulness. The effect size may be modest in scientific terms, but from the inside, any extra ease can feel like a relief, especially if nights have been hard. Even when the brainwave data doesn't change dramatically, the subjective experience often does. People say they feel calmer, safer, more ready for sleep when the room smells right. That word, ready, is important. Because sleep is not something we can force. It's a threshold we cross when enough conditions of safety and tiredness are met. Aromas, especially when woven into a consistent ritual, can be one of those conditions. Not a sedative in the medical sense, but a nudge. A reminder to the nervous system we've done everything we need to do for today. Now we shift. Your brain is very good at tying sensations together. The same way it learned, perhaps, that the sound of a certain ringtone means work is calling, or that the sight of a particular inbox icon means there are demands waiting, it can learn that a cluster of gentle cues means the opposite. There are no more demands. Soft lamplight. Cool sheets against your skin. The muted hum of nighttime sounds outside. The feeling of lying down, fully supported. The scent of herbs in the room. Each one, by itself, is just a sensation. Together, repeated night after night, they become a sentence. Nothing bad is going to happen now. Of course, life is never perfectly predictable. None of us can be promised that nothing challenging will ever occur in the dark. But, over time, your nervous system counts. How many nights began with this same combination of cues and ended in uneventful sleep? Tens, hundreds, maybe thousands. The amygdala notices the pattern. It doesn't need a guarantee, only probabilities. And the probability it calculates, in its own nonverbal way, becomes more and more tilted toward safety. So, when you step into that scent-infused room, on some level your body remembers, this is the setting where I usually rest. This configuration of light, texture, sound, and smell has a long history of harmlessness. And that memory is itself a kind of medicine. It's important to say, your scent of safety does not have to match anyone else's. For some, lavender is soothing. For others, it may evoke a memory they don't like, or simply feel unpleasant. Bergamot citrus can feel refreshing to one person, overstimulating to another. Chamomile might remind someone of care. It might remind someone else of a difficult time in a hospital. Cedarwood's grounding depth might be wonderful for you, or might feel too heavy. Your nervous system is shaped by your own story. The same molecule that relaxes one person may do nothing or even stir discomfort in another. That doesn't mean you are wrong. It just means your brain has learned a different set of associations. Some people find safety in the smell of vanilla because it reminds them of baking with someone they loved. Others find it in the crisp scent of line-dried cotton because it means clean spaces and order. For some, it might be the faint spice of incense from a place of worship. For others, the earthy scent of a particular soap used on quiet weekends. You don't have to know your scent of safety tonight. You don't have to go out and buy anything new. You are allowed to simply notice what already calms you. That noticing by itself begins to build a bridge. If you'd like, you can experiment gently in your mind. Right now. Bring your attention softly to your breath, not forcing it, just watching. The air enters, leaves, a rhythm you've been keeping since before you were born, when your lungs were still curled and silent. As you breathe, imagine that each inhale carries a smell that you love. Perhaps it's the herbal fragrance we've been talking about: lavender, bergamot, chamomile, cedarwood. Or perhaps it's rain, or pine, or old paper, or something only you know. See that scent as a faint, colored mist in the air, glowing with whatever hue feels like safety to you. Maybe it's blue, or green, or gold. With each in-breath, that colored mist enters your nose, travels to the little coastline of your olfactory bulb, then inward to the amygdala and hippocampus. There, it leaves a tiny, glowing mark, like a star on a map labeled safe. With each out-breath, imagine a bit of tension leaving your body, the tightness behind your eyes, the knot in your throat, the armor around your chest. You don't have to make it happen. You can simply give your nervous system permission. If anything wants to soften, it may. Inhale, scent of safety arriving. Exhale, unnecessary defenses loosening. Even if you can't smell much at all in reality, the imagination itself can activate some of the same circuits. Visualizing a calming scent can still send a message of care to your brain. I am thinking of things that comfort me. I am trying to be kind to myself. That intention matters. Your nervous system hears it. Somewhere, perhaps not far from where you are, someone else is doing something similar. They are misting a pillow with lavender. They are setting a diffuser with bergamot and cedar. They are tucking a chamomile sachet into the corner of their bed. They might not know about olfactory bulbs or limbic systems. They might not know the word hyperarousal. They only know that over time, this particular smell, in this particular room, at this particular hour, has come to mean, I am off duty. You are allowed to have that too. Not instantly, not perfectly, but gradually. Your brain is plastic, changeable. The pathways that shout, stay awake, stay on guard can, with repeated experiences of non-danger, begin to quiet. The pathways that whisper this is familiar, this is okay, can grow stronger, more convincing. Scent is one thread in that weaving. It does not have to carry the whole tapestry, but it can be a beautiful, subtle one. An invisible line connecting your present body to moments of comfort in your past and to the possibility of rest in your future. As you lie here now, there is nothing you have to fix. You don't need the perfect oil blend. You don't need the ideal brand of candle. You don't need to remember all the scientific details of how smell reaches your brain. You can simply rest in the knowledge that your nervous system is always listening, always learning, always capable of being soothed in small ways. If you catch even the faintest gentle scent in your room, you might acknowledge it silently. You are here. Thank you for being kind. If the air is neutral, you might choose a memory instead, recalling a smell from a safer time and letting your mind curl around it like a cat around a warm spot. Either way, with each ordinary breath, you are participating in the same quiet dance. Air in, air out. Signals in, signals out. The constant negotiation between danger and safety that your brain has been making since before you can remember. Tonight, you are giving that system one more hint, one more whisper. For this moment, I am allowed to rest. For this moment, I choose softness. The air moves over your skin. Your chest rises and falls. The room holds you. And somewhere behind your eyes, on that small neural coastline, the sense of your life, real or imagined, wash gently ashore, carrying with them the possibility of peace. By now, we've wandered through gardens and roots and invisible currents of scent. We've watched molecules ride the bloodstream, drift through the nose, touch the quiet shores of the brain. We've listened to GABA's inner hush and followed lavender into the limbic system. Now we shift our gaze from the tiny to the tender, from chemistry to choreography, from compounds to moments. Because the way something reaches you is not only about what it contains, but how it arrives. The path it takes through your evening, the story your body learns to tell whenever it appears. Tonight, we step into that story. We will not peer into test tubes. We will stand instead in a small kitchen, or at a bedside, or in a quiet corner near a window, and let ourselves feel how a simple ritual, with or without herbs, can reshape the landscape of the mind. Imagine the day is almost over. Maybe it was heavy. Maybe it was fine but too full. Maybe it was one of those days that left you feeling used up around the edges, as if your thoughts had been handled too roughly. The sun has sunk. The outside sounds are softening. You move toward the place where your evening begins to narrow. A kitchen counter, a small kettle, a row of jars or boxes with labels that you half read, half remember. You reach for one. Perhaps it says chamomile or lemon balm, or some gentle blend with names like sleep, or calm, or moon. Your hand knows the familiar weight of the box or the jar. It's the same gesture you made yesterday, and the day before, and the week before that. Your fingers find the folded paper of a tea bag, or the loose rustle of dried leaves. Somewhere, almost imperceptibly, your nervous system registers. We are here again. At this point in the pattern, you fill the kettle. Water flows from the tap in a brief silver river, splashing into the metal or ceramic. The sound is ordinary, but tonight we listen to it as a signal, a line drawn between before and after. Before the water boils, you are still inside the day. After it boils, you are stepping out. You set the kettle down and turn it on. At first it is silent, then a faint hum, then a building whisper as small bubbles begin to form and rise, like thoughts you had forgotten surfacing one by one, only to dissolve. Steam gathers at the spout, testing the air. The sound deepens to a low, comforting growl. You are not doing anything special, and yet in a quiet way, you are telling your body, we are leaving the day now. Psychologists have a word for this kind of pattern making: conditioning. In textbooks, it can sound mechanical, bells and dogs and rigid associations. But in a living human life, it is not a trick. It is a kind of emotional weaving. Your brain is always looking for threads it can braid into something meaningful. When certain actions are followed by certain outcomes repeatedly, your nervous system begins to anticipate. It learns that some gestures are not neutral. They are preludes. The sound of keys in a lock can mean someone I love is home. The beep of an email alert can mean more is being asked of me. The dimming of lights can mean the performance is about to begin. Over time, your evening tea ritual can become just as charged with expectation. The brain notices that, again and again, the sequence of choosing herbs, boiling water, steeping, sipping in low light, is followed by lying down, closing your eyes, eventually falling asleep. At first, these links are loose, but every repetition strengthens them, as if each night adds a new fine thread between the ritual and the rest that follows. Eventually, the pattern is so familiar that your body starts to respond early. You may find yourself feeling a little heavier as soon as you hear the kettle, or yawning when you smell the steam, or sensing a soft curtain of quiet descend the moment you wrap your hands around the warm mug, even before any herbal molecules have had time to travel from your stomach to your bloodstream to your brain. This is conditioning, but not in a cold, experimental way. This is your brain humming along to a song it has learned by heart, a lullaby made of small, repeated actions. Think of your nervous system as a musician that loves predictable melodies. The more often the same notes appear in the same order, the more easily it can play along. When you perform your tea ritual night after night, you are giving your nervous system a reliable piece of music, a sequence of sensations that always leads toward the same kind of evening. The look of the cup, the smell of the herbs, the warmth of the ceramic in your hands, the change in light as you move from kitchen to bedroom, the slight shift in posture from standing to sitting to lying down. Each of these is a beat, a note, a stepping stone across the fast river of the day. Far beneath conscious thought, your brain overlays this pattern with its own internal changes, lowering arousal, raising melatonin, easing muscle tone, nudging heart rate and breathing into a slower rhythm. We often talk about sleep as if it should just happen, like a switch flipping. But biologically, it is more like a tide coming in. Ritual is how we learn to read the tide tables and how we invite the water closer. Layered on top of this learning is something even more subtle: expectancy. When you prepare an herbal tea at bedtime, you are not only engaging your senses, you are also, inevitably, telling yourself a story. I am doing this because it might help me sleep. I am trying to be calmer. I am taking care of myself in some small way. That story is not just narration. It is communication between parts of your brain. For a long time, scientists treated placebo effects, benefits that come from belief or context, rather than the direct pharmacological action of a substance, as a sort of nuisance, a contaminant to be controlled in experiments. But more recent work has been kinder and more curious. It has shown that this placebo is not a fake effect. It is a genuine shift in physiology and perception, driven by expectation, conditioning, and the meaning you attach to what you do. When people take something they believe will ease their pain or calm their nerves, their brains often release their own pain-relieving or anxiety-reducing chemicals, endorphins, dopamine, or other messengers of comfort. Pain signals are processed differently. Tension melts not because of an external drug alone, but because the brain has decided help is coming and mobilizes its internal resources. Sometimes, even when people are told outright, this is a placebo, it contains no active ingredient, they still experience relief if the context feels caring and the story is honest and hopeful. Expectancy, in other words, is a kind of built-in pharmacy of meaning. When you sit with a warm mug of chamomile or lemon balm at night, part of any easing you feel may come from the herb's chemistry, GABA-linked compounds, gentle muscle relaxants, subtle shifts in the body's arousal systems, but another part may come from the simple, powerful conviction: I am doing something that helps me. I have not abandoned myself. Those changes are not less real because they spring from belief. They are as real as a slower heartbeat, as real as a deeper breath. You might feel skeptical about this. That's okay. It's normal to wonder if herbs really work, or if it's all in your head. The phrase "all in your head" has been used so often to dismiss people's experiences, to tell them their suffering is imaginary. But your head is not a hollow place. It is where your brain lives, and your brain is made of real tissue, real cells, real electricity and chemistry. If something shifts in your head, if your thoughts soften, if your emotions ease, if your sense of threat decreases, that is a real change in a real organ. The line between chemical effect and psychological effect is not a wall. It is a circle, each influencing the other. So you don't have to decide tonight whether your tea is working because of arpeggionin or because of expectancy, because of GABA receptors or because of ritual. You can let both stories be true at once, or neither for now. You can simply notice. When I make time for this warm cup, my breathing tends to slow. My shoulders drop a little. I feel a bit more willing to lie down and try again. That noticing is data, gathered gently, without judgment. Underneath all the science, something softer is happening each time you make that tea. You are practicing being on your own side. For many of us, night can become a time of conflict. A part of you wants desperately to sleep, another part is braced for another battle with wakefulness. The bed becomes a stage where you measure your worth by how quickly you can go unconscious. You lie there, bargaining, criticizing, pleading with your own mind. In that landscape, a small herbal ritual is not primarily about fixing you. It is about relating differently to your body, to the dark, to your own need for rest. When you choose to boil water, to select a blend, to wait for it to steep, to sit quietly while it cools enough to drink, you are sending yourself multiple messages. I acknowledge that this transition matters. I will not throw myself into bed like someone collapsing in defeat. I am willing to offer myself care, even if the outcome is uncertain. That last part is especially important. You are not promising, if I drink this, I will definitely sleep. You are saying instead, even if sleep is difficult, I will still treat myself gently. I will not abandon kindness just because the night is hard. Over time, this shift from demanding results to offering care can ease the pressure that often keeps us awake. The brain, sensing that it is no longer being judged so harshly for its performance, may be more willing to slide into sleep when it can, rather than clinging tightly to wakefulness out of fear of failure. Ritual also gives your evenings shape, and your brain loves shape. Inside your skull, near where your optic nerves cross, lies a tiny cluster of cells called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the master clock of your body. It listens to light and darkness and orchestrates daily rhythms. When hormones rise and fall, when temperature shifts, when alertness traditionally peaks and fades. But the clock does not run on light alone. It also listens to what you do. When you begin to repeat certain behaviors around the same time each night, dim the lights, make tea, read a few pages of something gentle, your internal clock starts to treat these as secondary time signals. It learns that when the cup is in your hand, the day is truly ending. As this pattern becomes steady, your body begins to anticipate it, nudging melatonin levels upward a bit earlier, readying the digestive and cardiovascular systems for a quieter phase. Sleep becomes less of a random hope and more of a rehearsed sequence. This is not about rigid schedules or perfect discipline. It is about giving your biology a predictable bridge between doing and not doing. Herbs in the cup can walk that bridge with you, but the bridge itself is the real gift. You might think of your nightly tea or any evening ritual as a small love letter written in steam and scent. Each step is a sentence. Filling the kettle, you deserve a pause. Standing and waiting, I can bear a little stillness. Pouring the water, I am pouring something warm into my own life. Watching it steep, some things take time. I don't have to rush this. Holding the mug, these hands have done enough for today. Taking the first sip, even if nothing else changes, this moment is gentle. On paper, these words may feel simple, almost obvious, but spoken nightly, through actions instead of language, they begin to sink into the deeper layers of your mind. The parts that don't respond well to pep talks or productivity hacks. The parts that listen instead for consistency, for softness, for proof that you mean it when you say you want to treat yourself better. Every quiet repetition teaches your brain a new story about sleep, a story in which you are not trying to wrestle the night into submission, but inviting it in politely. A story where bedtime is not a trap, but a threshold. A story where your nervous system slowly stops expecting battle and begins, cautiously, to expect rest. You do not need herbs to begin this. You could pour plain hot water into a cup. You could drink a mild, non-herbal blend. You could simply sit by the window for 5 minutes each night and watch the sky darken. Feel your own breathing. Sense the way your weight rests on the chair. But if you like the company of chamomile or lemon balm or any gentle plant, they can become part of the letter, ink in which you write your intentions. You might even decide that, for now, your goal is not to fall asleep faster. Your goal is to relate to yourself more tenderly at the edge of sleep. Sleep will come when it does. In the meantime, you can ask, how can I make these waiting minutes, these long breaths, a little kinder? Ritual is one answer. A warm cup in your hands. A familiar scent rising. The same chair, the same lamp, the same sequence. Your brain will notice. It always does. As you lie here listening, perhaps with your own cup nearby or simply the memory of one, you don't have to do anything more. You have already been part of a ritual, choosing to press play. Choosing to let your mind wander through these images of gardens and roots and cups and breath. That too is a sequence, a pattern your nervous system can learn. When I hear these kinds of words, in this kind of tone, at this time of night, nothing is expected of me. I can drift. You are writing new associations in your own neural threads, gently, without force. You are teaching your brain that night can be approached with curiosity instead of dread, with care instead of criticism. Maybe herbs will be part of that teaching. Maybe they won't. Either way, the deeper lesson remains the same. You are allowed to build small bridges into rest. You are allowed to walk them slowly. You are allowed to offer yourself warmth, even on nights when sleep does not come easily. With every warm cup, real or imagined, with every quiet repetition of your chosen ritual, you are whispering to your nervous system, I am here. I am trying. And I will meet the dark with softness, not with war. Let that be enough for now. Let the day loosen its grip, one familiar gesture at a time. The kettle has boiled, the cup is full. The story of this night can be gentler than the last. By now, the night around us feels a little fuller. We have walked through the quiet garden at the edge of sleep. We have watched chamomile moons float in teacup skies, and lavender tides roll in under a violet dusk. We have followed roots into the dark and drifted on invisible rivers of scent. We have stood beside the small rituals of kettles and cups, learning how a simple pattern can teach a nervous system to soften. Now, in this final chapter, we turn toward the most intimate landscape of all, Not the garden outside you, but the garden within. The place where all of these herbs, scents, and rituals must finally arrive. Your own body, your own brain, your own history of nights. If you like, you can imagine your body as a small, intricate ecosystem. Inside your skin, there is an entire world. Rivers of blood, forests of branching nerves, fields of receptors, like flowers opening and closing in response to passing messengers. Tides of hormones rising and falling with the arc of every day. Some parts of this inner landscape are ancient, inherited from countless generations before you. Instincts for safety, for hunger, for sleep. Other parts have been shaped by your particular life, the stresses you've known, the comforts you've received, the ways you were taught to deal with feelings, the memories stamped into your cells by repetition. Every brain, every body, is its own weather system. So it makes sense that what soothes one person may feel too strong, too weak, or simply strange to another. The same dose of valerian that brings one nervous system into a deep exhale might leave another feeling foggy and unsettled. The chamomile tea that gently slows one person's thoughts might do almost nothing for someone else. This is not failure. This is individuality. You are not a broken machine because the thing that helps your friend sleep does not help you, or because an herb that is supposed to be calming makes you feel oddly wired. You are a specific ecosystem, a particular mix of genes, receptors, enzymes, experiences, and meanings. Your nervous system has learned what it has learned. It will also, slowly, learn new things. So when you approach herbal remedies, or any tool for sleep, it can help to picture yourself approaching a shy animal in a clearing. You don't rush in with open arms, demanding affection. You don't assume you know exactly how it will respond. You don't try to pin it down. You move slowly. You stay curious. You watch for signals. In this image, the herb is the animal. But you could also reverse it. Imagine you are the shy creature, and the herb is the open hand. Your nervous system, especially if it has been on high alert for a long time, may not immediately trust anything that promises to change how you feel, even in a positive direction. It might tense up at the idea of relaxing, because relaxation has sometimes preceded danger. It might treat drowsiness as a threat, because staying awake has felt like the only way to be safe. Recognizing this is not a reason to give up. It is an invitation to proceed with respect. If you decide to experiment with herbs, you might think of it less as taking something, and more as starting a quiet conversation with your body. A small amount of a new tea on a calm evening, when you can notice how you feel. A single drop of a tincture under the tongue, not as a test you must pass, but as a question. What do you think of this? A bit of a new scent in the diffuser, not overwhelming the room, just offering a hint. Then you listen. Maybe you feel your body sink a little more deeply into the mattress. Maybe your thoughts slow from a sprint to a walk. Maybe you feel nothing at all. Maybe you feel groggy the next morning. Maybe you feel uncomfortable, or restless, or off. All of this is information. It doesn't mean you did something wrong. It doesn't mean the herb is bad or good. It simply means your inner ecosystem is giving you feedback. You can keep notes if that helps, gentle observations, not verdicts. Chamomile, nice taste, no big change. Lavender scent felt calmer, easier to stay in bed. Valerian, slept, but woke cloudy, too heavy for now. Lemon balm, mind a bit quieter, no grogginess. Describing, not judging. Over time, you become a fluent listener of your own chemistry. Not in an obsessive way, but in a caring way, like learning the moods of someone you love, and adjusting how you support them accordingly. With the same gentleness, we can talk about safety. Natural is a comforting word. It suggests fields, forests, clear water, soft earth. But in biology, natural simply means made by nature. And nature is wide enough to hold both blueberries and belladonna, both chamomile and hemlock. Most herbs used for sleep, chamomile, lavender, lemon balm, passion flower, valerian, are considered safe for many people when used appropriately. They have long histories of traditional use and modern studies that, while imperfect, offer some reassurance. But generally safe does not mean safe for everyone, in every amount, in every situation. Herbs are made of molecules. Those molecules can interact with your own chemistry and with medications you may be taking. Some herbs can amplify the effects of sedatives or interfere with how the liver processes certain drugs. Others may not be recommended during pregnancy or with specific medical conditions. This is not a reason to be afraid. It is a reason to be respectful. You might think of it this way. If your body is an ecosystem, then anything you introduce, even something gentle, can ripple through that system in ways that are sometimes hard to predict. Respect, in this context, can look like checking in with a healthcare provider or knowledgeable herbalist before starting a new herb, especially if you take medications, are pregnant, breastfeeding, or have chronic conditions, starting with small amounts rather than large doses. Avoiding the temptation to pile multiple strong sedative herbs on top of each other or on top of medications in the hope of forcing sleep. Not assuming that because an herb is sold over the counter, it has no risks at all. You can hold this awareness without losing the softness of your approach. Think of it as the difference between walking barefoot in a beloved garden and walking barefoot in a wild forest. In both places, the earth is under your feet. In both, there is beauty. But in the forest, you watch a little more carefully where you step. In a world that often encourages us to buy more and more, new teas, new tinctures, new supplements promising deeper sleep, it is easy to slip into the belief that the next product might finally be the one. If you've found yourself with a shelf full of half-used bottles and boxes, you are not alone. There can be something hopeful and heartbreaking about that collection. Each item a small act of faith. A quiet maybe this will help. It's understandable. Long nights can make anyone desperate for solutions. But your nervous system often responds better to consistency than to constant novelty. It tends to relax more with a few familiar allies than with a crowd of strangers. So one of the gentlest choices you can make is to step back from the urge to collect, and instead lean into the desire to understand. If you already have a few herbs, you might choose one or two to get to know more deeply over time. Instead of reaching for a new one each week, you might focus less on finding the perfect blend and more on the way you incorporate it into your evenings. The light, the sounds, the tone of your own inner voice as you drink it. The goal is not a cupboard full of cures. The goal is a body and mind that feel a little more known. Because even the most helpful herb is only part of a much wider constellation that shapes your sleep. Around your bed and inside your brain, many stars are shining. The light in your room and how it changes as night comes. The glow of screens and how long they stay near your eyes. The stress carried over from the day. Emails unanswered, conversations unresolved, worries about tomorrow. The memories that rise when the world gets quiet. The stories you tell yourself in the dark. If every night a bright blue screen shines into your eyes until the last moment, your inner clock can become confused, convinced that it is still daytime. If you go straight from urgent tasks to bed without a transition, your nervous system might still be running at full speed as you pull the covers up. If you speak to yourself harshly when you can't fall asleep, what's wrong with you? You'll ruin tomorrow again. Your amygdala may hear those words as a threat, keeping the fight or flight response alive. In that context, Herbs can still help, but their voices may be small against the chorus of light and stress and self-criticism. When you begin to dim the lights, to step away from devices a bit earlier, to create even 10 quiet minutes between doing and trying to sleep, you are strengthening the other stars in your sleep sky. When you practice talking to yourself more gently in the dark, it's okay that this is hard. My body is trying to protect me. I am still resting even if I'm not asleep yet. You are lowering the sense of danger that keeps the nervous system braced. Herbal remedies can be beautiful companions in this process, but they do not have to carry the whole weight. They walk alongside changes in light, in rhythm, in thought, like small lanterns added to a path that you are already clearing. And underneath all of this is you, your own inner knowing, the part of you that senses when something is too much, or not enough, or just right. It can be easy, especially when you're tired, to hand all of your authority to the outside, to experts, to articles, to friends, to labels on boxes. Their knowledge matters. It can keep you safe, give you options, suggest possibilities you hadn't considered. But none of them lives in your body. Only you feel what it's like to be you, to inhabit your skin from the inside. So as you experiment with herbs, with rituals, with changes in your evenings, you can keep asking gentle questions and trust the answers that arise over time. Do I feel a little softer after this, or tighter? Do I wake feeling more at ease, or more tangled? Does this feel like kindness, or like pressure dressed up as wellness? You might notice that some nights, the kindest choice is a cup of tea and a book. Other nights, it's turning off all input and listening to the rain. Sometimes, it might be talking to someone about what's really keeping you awake. Sometimes, it might be simply placing a hand on your own chest and saying, quietly, I know, I'm here. Listening to your own chemistry is not just about tracking reactions to herbs. It's about noticing how every part of your life affects the tides inside you. In a way, your body is already its own herbalist. It makes its own melatonin as night deepens, encouraging sleepiness when light fades. It lets adenosine build up in your brain as you stay awake, creating sleep pressure that eventually nudges you toward bed. It releases GABA and other inhibitory messengers to quiet overactive circuits. It calms your heart when the parasympathetic tide flows in, telling your organs, now we rest. Even without a single plant extract, your inner garden is always mixing its own potions, always trying to keep you balanced between alertness and rest. Herbs, when they are right for you, can sometimes lean gently on these existing processes, adding their voices to the choir. But they are not the conductor. The conductor is your own nervous system, doing the best it can with what it has learned. Sometimes, the most powerful remedy is not something you swallow or inhale, but a new way of being with yourself. A decision, repeated softly, to stop treating the night as an enemy you must defeat. A choice to see it instead as a place of return. If you like, you can turn inward now, one more time. Feel the weight of your body wherever it rests. The pull of gravity holding you to the earth, the same way roots hold to soil. Notice your breath. No need to change it, just sense it. Air entering, cool or warm. Air leaving, a fraction softer. You can imagine your breath as an herbal wind moving through the forest of your body, brushing over the branches of your ribs, rustling the leaves of your lungs, carrying with it the faint fragrance of every kindness you've ever offered yourself or might one day offer. Inhale, the world comes in. Exhale, you give something back. Heat, carbon dioxide, a small release. Beneath that, feel for your heartbeat. You might feel it in your chest, or your throat, or your fingertips. A steady drum under the forest floor of your skin. beating out a rhythm that began before you knew the word for night, and will continue through every evening still to come. This drum has carried you through storms of adrenaline and long stretches of numbness, through laughter and panic and boredom and awe. It continues even now, without needing your conscious help. You can whisper to it if you like, "Thank you for working so hard." You are allowed to slow down when you can. We are safe enough, in this moment, to rest a little. As all the threads of this journey gather, the flowers and roots, the scents and rituals, the science and the stories, they form something simple and quiet. An invitation, not a command to sleep, not a guarantee of perfect nights, just an ongoing, patient invitation to be on your own side, to treat your nervous system not as a stubborn enemy, but as a loyal guard dog that sometimes needs to be lovingly told, "You can stand down now. I know you are only trying to protect me." To let herbs, when they suit you, be companions rather than saviors. To let rituals be love letters rather than obligations. To let night be, slowly, less of a battlefield and more of a shoreline, a place you return to again and again to lay down what you've been carrying. You do not have to get all the way there tonight. You do not have to feel perfectly calm or perfectly sleepy or perfectly anything. It is enough, for now, that you are here, listening. That some part of you is willing to explore a gentler way. That you are considering, perhaps for the first time, that it might be safe, little by little, to be on your own side. The garden at the edge of sleep is still there, waiting. The chamomile constellations still glimmer. The lavender tides still move in and out. The roots in the dark are still breathing slowly beneath it all. And inside you, your own chemistry, your own inner forest, continues its work. If sleep comes, let it wrap around you like a soft, familiar coat. If it doesn't, you are still resting. You are still allowed to simply lie here, breathing, while the night passes gently over you. Nothing more is required. You are allowed to return, again and again, to this simple truth. You are not alone in the dark. Your body is not your enemy. And somewhere, deep in the mind, new stories about safety and rest are already beginning to grow.